is going to have to be aware of that enough to know that he can't really play the Marvel until he has the ability to activate it right away. Okay, well, let's get into it and decide who's going to take down this potentially gauntlet deciding match between Jakub Toth and Shintaro Ishimura. What do we got here? Brainstorm, Harness Lightning, Rogue Refiner, Aetherworks Marvel.
I mean, definitely keeping.
Yeah.
Definitely keeping. This hand's beautiful. You got your colors of mana. You got Rogue Refiner on 3, Harness Lightning to kill something early. If there's a mulligan that's involved here, maybe you just send Harness Lightning back. But I mean, and you have your namesake card in Aetherworks Marvel. If this isn't a keep, I don't feel like I know much about this deck.
On the bottom, it's double Brainstorm, Shark Typhoon, Mizzix's Mastery, and a Coma. I see this was a mulligan already from Shintaro, so he's going to put the Brainstorm back.
Bye Brainstorm. Okay.
Yeah, rather than it looks like the lands are just important enough here just to curve right into Rogue Refiner. I kind of like this a little better. Oh boy, Aetherworks.
Okay, I can't keep up here.
Yeah, we're gonna wait until that done button gets hit before, because he's just kind of throwing us some curveballs here. Boy, I don't know that I would want to play that fair against what Jakub is doing. And yeah, he's going to take the line I think that you and I both anticipated, which is to keep the Brainstorm, put back one of the Stomping Grounds.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I'm like, I love watching the players kind of go through the iterations there of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it's like completely different cards. Like Brainstorm's gone. All right, I guess Marvel's gone. Well, hang on a minute. Don't you want that? That's how you win. Well, how about a land? Okay, those are 3 very different things.
Yeah. All right, but it's land into land with Brainstorm available here for Ishimura. And Jakub on the bottom, well, he's got double Brainstorm in hand, and otherwise is just going to be playing a land this turn. And it looks like he's going to run out the Fabled Passage, which will give him the ability to perhaps shuffle away that Coma back into the library where it belongs.
And the one thing that Jakub's missing right now is some sort of way to interact. And you're seeing right now with the picking up a Mizzix's Mastery, a Triome, and Indomitable Creativity, the cards that I mentioned at the top, Prismari Command, Memory Lapse, Mystical Dispute, none of those are present right now to be able to stop a copy of Aetherworks Marvel, which of course is the namesake of Ishimaru's deck. So maybe that's what he was looking for with Brainstorm. Didn't find him.
Looks like the Coma for sure, and then perhaps the second copy of Mizzix's Mastery is going to be the choice here. And remember, these are likely to get shuffled away with the Fabled Passage. At least the Coma will.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like, yeah, he did actually change his mind there. I didn't catch, was it one of the lands?
It was one of the lands that went back alongside Coma.
Okay.
The Ketria Triome, it looks like, is gone.
Okay.
Well, there's the problem card.
There's a Prismari Command.
Mm-hmm.
He can use that to kill the Rogue Refiner. He can hang on to it if he anticipates Aetherworks Marvel next turn, which it's got to be on Jakub's mind here. Yeah, look at him. Look at the deck list. He's like, how many Aetherworks Marvel? Oh, all of them?
Are we letting it rip right now, perhaps? Maybe this plus make a treasure?
Yeah, he could make a treasure here and set up for Indomitable Creativity. And then in an absolute pinch, you can just Mizzix's Mastery back the Prismari Command.
That second point is a really good point, which is, yeah, you can just recast it from the graveyard. That's a really strong point.
It's a backup plan for Jakub, and as he passes his turn back. So now he gets to kind of hit from both angles, right? He has Indomitable Creativity to get Coma going next turn. Or, if he absolutely must, he has this backup plan. So, really putting a lot of pressure on Shintaro. I know it doesn't look like it, right? He hasn't really done much on the board. He's made a treasure. But if you're in Shintaro's seat, there's a lot of things to be worried about right now.
For sure.
I don't know that he has a whole lot to say about it, though. He's got Attune with Ether. He has his Brainstorm. Right now, he doesn't have any way to do really anything to interact with a treasure or a spell going on the stack.
Well, I guess we get the party started with the Brainstorm, which is rarely a bad place to start. Either Meltdown not at its best. Another copy of Marvel might be a little bit redundant. So it looks like those cards are going to go away, and then Attune with Ether can do the shuffling as opposed to a Fabled Passage.
All right, there's the Attune. You see the energy count rise here up to 4 now. So Ishimura perhaps trying to set up a turn where he already has enough energy to activate the Marvel and get his spin on. Ooh, memory lapse off the top, but do you just want a coma here?
A fair question. I guess the big question, right? So let's see. 4 energy means that there's not going to be a spin next turn unless it is a turn of attune, get a land, play a Marvel, spin to win, right? And then hit an Ulamog, which, look, this deck is capable. Don't get me wrong. But I could definitely see an argument of, you know what? You better have all of it.
Well, this is interesting too, because with the mana available, Harness Lightning can actually take out Coma, right?
Actually, yes, it can.
And even leave an energy behind. So not a great run out there for Jakub, as he is getting his Coma killed before any Serpents hit the battlefield. Now, it did trade for a card as well as a bunch of energy, so he's not going to get Aetherworks Marveled here.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Shintaro, I'm loving watching Shintaro play up top. Just the facial expressions and the body language. Obviously having some fun. Well, we added Ulamog to the... Oh, boy.
Yeah, I've never met Shintaro in real life. I never had a conversation with him, but I really like him.
Yeah.
He's just funny and he smiles a lot and I don't know.
Adding Ulamog to the grip is interesting. I guess, there's a Castle Garenbrig there. There's also the potential you draw a Brainstorm, you can shuffle it back away. We didn't get a look at what the expressive iteration was, so perhaps there was no choice. Sounds weird. Maybe a misclick. Maybe a misclick to add Ulamog to hand, potentially.
I like it that you're just like, hey, there's an Ulamog in hand. Let's get one of those.
Yeah, I'm just trying to feel like, how does that get there when you expressive iteration? Like, you gotta either do that on purpose, or because expressive iteration resolves in a weird way, you may have accidentally added it to your hand. Maybe that's why we saw the laughter. Either way, it's there now, Marshall.
I want to see it hardcast. I'm here for it. Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot's going to up the energy count to 5. Getting pretty close here. The memory lapse is starting to become very important here for Jakub. And look at this. He has Magma Opus now as well. He can actually cast it right now if he'd like. I don't think that's where he wants to be, though. Memory lapse seems quite important for this next turn. He has to be aware of the possibility of the Marvel.
Fine. You mentioned the Magma Opus, couple copies of Mizzix Mastery. Mastery still very good in Historic. Not as good as it was when Time Warp was legal a couple of weeks ago, but still a very powerful card.
Yeah. All right, well, let's look at some cards, says Jakub. He's got a Brainstorm to take a look at what's going on, and he finds a second copy of Memory Lapse, another Brainstorm, and a Steam Vents off of it. He says, well, I'm not going to need this Mastery just straight away. These cards are going to come back into his hand over the next turn.
Oddly enough, not because of Castle Garenbrig, not that far away from casting Ulamog is Ishimura. So that's a little thing for us to kind of keep track of as the game unfolds, too.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I had a feeling you might be.
Yeah, you got my interest there. Okay, there's the Puzzle Knot going away. So there we go. 8 energy. And the way is pretty clear here for Shintaro. Now, he doesn't know about the double memory lapse, but he can just go for the Marvel here, and he's going for it. Here comes the memory lapse, so to set that right back on top of the library.
I'm going to delay that a little bit.
Just hang on to that one for me, says Jakub. And now we're going to see him discard Magma Opus to make a treasure. And interestingly, 3, 6, 7 with that Steam Vents on top, he can overload Mastery here.
Yeah, let's see what's down yonder. Opus, obviously the best thing going on.
Right. It looks like he's not going to go for the overload here, though. He does have another one on top of his library that he could overload later.
Okay. Well,
but he's going to go for a Magma Opus.
Let's do this whole thing.
Yeah, he wants to keep up the memory lapse here to make sure that that next turn he doesn't have to watch his opponent spin the old wheel.
Looks like Jakub decently ahead. I mean, Ulamog is the kind of card that can catch you up in a hurry, though.
It is. Yeah, Jakub, he's really trying to just empty as many of these instants and sorceries into his graveyard as possible so that he can get maximum overload. I mean, every brainstorm is another card into your hand with a little bit of selection as well. Oh boy, there's another Magma Opus as well.
That in combination with that Mystic's Mastery, not that you need Mystic's Mastery, but that old 1-2 punch there might put a wrap on this one.
Yeah, because, he's going to be able to use Memory Lapse this turn. And assuming that that's all that Shintaro has to do, Jakub could be setting up for just an absolutely soul-crushing, overloaded Mizzix's Mastery next turn.
Yup.
It might even just be lethal, too, right? I mean, he's going to get in for 4 here. If he gets to attack next turn, he can get in for all of his creatures plus another 4, plus, who knows what else he finds him. Even the Prismari command can add to the damage total.
Well, that's actually a really good point, the Prismari command, that 2 points there. That's going to add up too. So let's see. We drew the Marvel. I thought we drew maybe another Marvel, but we know that one's on top from Memory Lapse. So I'm just going to cast it again.
It is funny because the second Marvel would actually be just fine here, but here we go. Memory Lapse. And then you kind of cross your fingers he doesn't have another one. And Shintaro just bows and says, all right. You had it. You got me.
Well, I mean, back on top, I wonder what you can do with this Harness Lightning, if anything.
Kill a 4/4.
So up to 11, down to 4 brings you to 7. Okay, so you can kill a 4/4 now?
Yep.
Okay.
That might buy him another turn. I mean, he may only need another turn.
Yeah, you kill a 4/4 now. You have 7 energy, which means that when you draw Marvel, you can still spin to win. Now, your best hit is Ulamog, and now the question, of course, is Ulamog a good enough hit? And I want to believe the answer is yes, Marshall, because it's
with
Ulamog.
The castle, can he cast it?
Let's see. 4, that's 6, 7. Actually, yeah, we are. I think we are castable next turn.
It's not bad.
That's 4, that's 6, 7. Yeah, we're castable next turn.
The funny part is that if we see overloaded Mizzix's Mastery, I mean, look, Ulamog gets to do his thing, going to come down, take out some creatures or whatever, and be very threatening. But I'm really genuinely wondering if it's even enough at this point. Because if we see Mizzix's Mastery overloaded here, there's going to be a million cards in hand for Jakub. And one of them is going to be Magma Opus.
Yep.
And Magma Opus tapping down your Ulamog is a very strong play, as normally you're just looking to try to turn Ulamog sideways once or twice to win the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the concern I have, which is it's rare that we say that Ulamog is not good enough, but those situations do exist, and I think we might be living in that simulation right now. Yeah, so you play Castle, you tap 4 lands, 2 green, that'll give you 6. So we can just count Castle. You basically just count Castle as an Ancient Tomb or a City of Traders or something like that. So that's 2. There's 8 lands on the battlefield. Yeah, we're there.
Yeah, you said it. It was right.
Just double checking my math real quick.
Nobody's listening to us, but
that's fine.
I'm sure Shintaro is. He's been sandbagging that castle too.
You can't let him know.
Surprise! Look at this. This is going to be a
surprise.
Magma Opus.
Yeah, I'm on to you.
So this will actually keep him from hard casting, but it will not keep him from resolving the
Marvel.
Look at Shintaro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh boy, another Magma Opus too. Okay, so it's not a guaranteed Ulamog, but there could be the possibility of one here.
Well,
he still has to hit, but like we said, I don't even know if it's good enough.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good enough either.
Feels like a big fat no with that second Magma Opus.
Yeah, I think I'm agreeing. I'm trying to think of, do you spin the wheel now, or do you do it on your opponent's turn at some point? I think that's what Shintaro's thinking about right now as well.
Shintaro going through the motions, and you can see his kind of thought process is like, okay, if I do this, okay, that's good. If I do that, oh, that's bad. Well, that was kind of a sweet play by Jakub, though. He said, look, if you spin the wheel and hit, then so be it. I can't stop that, but I'm not going to let you hard cast it if you happen to have Castle Garenbrig. All right, here we go.
Can we get a look?
It's been years.
Can we get a look at the 6?
It's a Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot.
There you go. There's a whammy for you.
That's a big whammy stick. So that looks like it's going to do it here. 4, 7, 8, 9 plus Magma Opus. Let's see. Is that quite lethal? 13. It's the exact right amount, isn't it? Because of the Puzzle Knot.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep.
Puzzle Knot gains 3. Is that right?
Yeah, suppose not gains 3. You go up to 13. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 13.
Exactly.
99.
Especially now that you're tapped out. It makes this a much easier game here. Down to 4 with 4 burn in hand effectively here for Jakub. He can say, give me game number 1. Thank you very much.
Oh, now we're just going to real fun.
Spamming things. Yep. And there we go. Jakub Toth picks up the first game, maneuvered beautifully there. Didn't even end up having to overload Mizzix's mastery. He was able to get there just by basically casting a bunch of Magma Opus.
Yeah, I think that was the 3rd Magma Opus of the game. And, that's a lot of those. So,
Indeed.
I think Magma Opus, when designed, is probably like, yeah, this is like your payoff spell. You cast it once, maybe twice, like a Cruel Ultimatum or something. Certainly not thrice, but 3 times is more than enough there for Jakub. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he paid full price for 2 of them as well, so you got to give him props there. The other 2.
Ooh,
so
look at this sideboarding. Okay, Marvel's out, Ulamog's out, Puzzle Knot's out, Meltdown out, and now we're gonna play just like a weird Temur-y, energy-y,
Temur tempo
game. Yeah. Let's call it that, with shifting Ceratops, which is probably a problem.
Yeah. Robber of the Rich coming in early, even Brazen Borrower to keep you off balance.
I'm doing a quick check. How are we killing 5/4 pro blue if we're Jakub's deck? Prismari Command ain't it. Magma Opus ain't it. Blocking, let's see. So that's not really going to work, right? Because Coma and the Serpents, that doesn't get the job done. Am I right about that?
I think you are. I know you're right with Coma. The Serpents, I believe, are both colors as well. Let's take a quick...
I just want to make sure, because this is an interaction that I wasn't expecting this weekend. It's shifting Ceratops versus Temur creativity.
It's blue. They're just blue Serpents, so that doesn't work.
Okay, so that's not it. Anger
Big
of the Gods.
Shifty could really get there.
Yeah, Anger of the Gods ain't good enough. We're leaving, and those are getting sideboarded out anyway. Shark Typhoons are blue. Can't dispute it or counter it. Oh, baby.
Wow. That's crazy.
I guess the one way to kill it is Indomitable Creativitying it.
Yep, that's true.
And then it turns into something probably worse.
Wow.
Okay.
So you maybe downgrade it with your Indomitable Creativity. That does not sound like a game plan.
Yeah, and then there's the Amass token from Commence the End Game. This is gonna be. I want this to be super cool.
Chat wants to know if you can memory lapse it. No.
Nah, can't leave. Get that out of here.
Yeah.
Memory lapse and nothing.
This is crazy. This is a great sideboard plan. Now the question is it going to get the job done? We don't see any of those cards here for the Temur tempo list. It looks more like we do. There's a Robber of the Rich.
Let's rob the rich.
Jakub's like, oh, great.
Yeah, and this hand isn't, it does have a Prismari Command, but a couple of hits are going to happen here.
Shintaro curve out here with Rogue Refiner.
Yeah, let's just go beatdowns. I love it.
This is your dream sideboard plan from what went to a kind of a cheaty face deck to all of a sudden just nice curve out, bounce your thing, counter your spell, kill you. Look at that. Maximum aggression now from Shintaro. He's just going to play a Bone Crusher.
Love casting Bone Crusher Giant in the face of an untapped land that can tap for blue mana, thinking about Mystical Dispute. So say I'm not going to run into that. Do we have some sort of counter spell here? Oh no, is the fun already over? We're just going to creativity that treasure token away and put a Coma on the battlefield.
Yeah, he's got one of them in his hand, but there's another one floating around. Yeah.
Yeah. Creativity deck might be pretty good.
Seriously, wow, Coma has just impressed. you can read the card and go, yeah, that looks pretty strong, but it kind of blends in with so many other, 7 mana gold cards or whatever. That's like, I can show you a bunch of dragons that are like, yeah, that's a really good card. But this one's different. It really, it gives you the absolute shortest window to kill it. It's just, if you get to your own upkeep or end step, it's kind of done, right? Or upkeep or whatever. And so you need instant speed way to kill a 6 toughness creature. That's really tough. And if you don't, I don't think I've seen that card get beat yet this weekend.
Brainstorm pretty nice. Found a copy of Brazen Bar, more importantly, Petty Theft, but we're going to tap out for a Rogue Refiner and give some beatdown. So, Coma, I think, yikes.
Yikes. Could be a GG just with Coma hitting the battlefield here. There's the land, and there's the Indomitable Creativity. Still that shortcut in place here for Jakub. You saw Shintaro basically took his ability to do this type of game ender early in the game off the battlefield, but Shintaro needed a way to interact with the Indomitable Creativity on the stack in his hand. He didn't have it.
Ooh, can we Brazen Borrower with this trigger on the stack?
Yeah.
Bounce that, keep playing a little bit, then both Comas are in the grip? I mean, what other outs do we even have?
This works. Like, there will be a leftover Serpent, so it's not a disaster for Jakub, but he now has both of them into his hand, which means that there's going to be some bricks in his library here as well.
Oh, yeah, let's keeping on. A little trade there. Get your 3 points of damage through. You can play Brazen Borrower, Rogue Refiner after combat, whatever you want to do.
We got a game here still.
Yeah, we do.
This Coma is not GG. And take a look at Jakub's hand. He is way behind now.
Beat downs. That memory lapse sucks. Beat downs.
All of his cards suck. He can't cast anything.
Beat downs. Beat down. Oh, that's a Prismari command. Not for the W. Not for the W.
One short.
Well, it gets lapsed or disputed or something. So I mean, it matters insofar as it's a relevant card. But you're at 3.
Riser getting in there. Down to 3.
I'm loving it.
Now Shintaro goes into the tank here. The most standout card right now is Brazen Borrower for its ability to get in kind of undetected here, as it can come in on end step and have flying. But of course, Jakub knows about it. Maybe you're supposed to just play Rogue Refiner. Oh, he's going to go for Prismari command.
All right, Nuggles
for 2 damage.
Going right upstairs.
He did. He's just going for the burn spell here. Kind of a weird play.
Yeah, I mean, if you think your opponent has nothing, right, then you can just go command you. I win.
Yeah.
If you think they have nothing.
He's giving himself a treasure and doing 2. Jakub has plenty of ability here to keep from dying from these Prismari commands, but he is dead to either of these Rogue Refiners on the battlefield. And right now, he ain't interacting with those.
Nope.
Those are coming in and finishing the job.
I love it when a plan comes together. Shifting it up, Brazen Borrower was a beautiful find off of that Brainstorm to counteract the Indomitable Creativity. And that Prismari command solves one issue, but doesn't solve both.
It's probably the best case, right? So he can kill a Refiner and then get rid of these stupid Comas from his hand and try to find an answer for the other. I think he's just deciding if he wants to crack his fetch first.
Yeah, and there's the end step Brazen Borrower too that you have to contend with now. I guess. Okay, so I guess we start with deal 2. This is probably like deal 2, peel 2, discard 2, right? That solves the first problem. Doesn't solve the rest of the problems, right?
Because that didn't solve anything.
Yeah, because those 2 lands stink. You could go dispute the Brazen Borrower, and then if you drew an answer to the other Rogue Refiner, you'd be able to keep playing. But that didn't happen. And so now, Marshall, game 3.
Wow, it actually worked. And that was through a Coma as well. So really impressive stuff there from Shintaro. And here's the cool part. He didn't even draw his best card, the Shifting Ceratops that Jakub is going to have such a problem with. And he just did it the ultra fairway there. Huh. Temur tempo in the hands of Shintaro Ishimura gets the job done in game 2, forces this game 3 decider.
The marbles are gone. The namesake of the deck in the sideboard, at least for that second game.
Crazy.
I don't know if there's a reason to bring him back for the third game. So now we're just kind of messing around. Little juke. Got this crazy sideboard. Am I going to use it? Am I not going to use it? We saw it that second game primarily getting used. That Brazen Borrower was key as well. And now, okay, so now what's happening? Okay, so yeah. Okay, so Marvels are back in. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Okay,
are you serious?
All right,
he just juked him.
Okay, so now Bone Crushers are out. Meltdowns are still gone. One less Ulamog. Marvel's back in. Ceratop's still in. Disputes and Borrowers are back in. Oh yeah, just try to keep up with Shintaro. Just try, Jakub. You can't.
This is next level sideboarding. Now, there's good news though for Jakub in that the Prismari commands are actually just part of his baseline game plan. He doesn't want to take those out, even if there's no Aetherworks Marvel. So he'll have those to fall back on in case the Marvel becomes a factor. But it's interesting to note that him not knowing how Shintaro sideboarded means that he may be a lot more reckless with his Prismari commands and not really hang on to them anticipating a Aetherworks Marvel. He may just fire them off, making treasures going through his library.
I can't wait. Now I want to see a Marvel get drawn. It's not as good as it normally would be in game number 1 because there's one less Ulamog, but there's still, shooting Ceratops in this matchup is, it's not hitting Ulamog, obviously, but it is a very hard to deal with thing. Speaking of Ulamog, how we doing? How we doing, big guy?
Oh, Shintaro's such a ham. He's looking at it like, come on, really? In my opener? I love it that he's trying this sideboard swap here from games 2 to 3.
This is the worst feeling, by the way. When I was testing Marvel for one of the events last year, like right when Marvel was reprinted in Historic, just every time you draw Ulamog or Ugin or whatever your top end threat is, it's just, come on.
So bad.
It's so bad. That's why you can't play that many, but you have to play enough in order for your Marvels to work. It's just the worst feeling.
It's effectively a mulligan to 6. So the question is, do you think that you could get a better 6 than the 6 that you have here?
Yeah, I send it. I think you can do better.
Yeah, those Harness Lightnings just don't do enough here. It's nice to have one, but the second one could just not really find a target. Take a look at the hand here from Jakub just as an example.
Yeah,
Harness Lightning's not doing anything.
He kept
it.
Okay. I didn't think that would happen.
I also did not anticipate him keeping there. I thought it was close, but the Harness Lightnings for me would have been the deal breaker for him. He's going to keep it. Let's see what happens. He's got a second Rogue Refiner now. Not a coward stream here for Shintaro Ishimura.
No, not even a little.
A little bit awkward here. He's going to hit his land drop for the turn, but he doesn't have one coming up. And he's taking a look at Inspiration there. He's going to decide against it, but it's a slow start here for Shintaro, to say the least.
Very, very slow start. Both players with less than ideal hands, but Jakub's hand is coming together much better given the expressive iteration and the brainstorm and the ability to defend himself a little bit with Mystical Dispute.
So there's a Brazen Borrower in hand here for Shintaro. He could use that on the treasure. But it has a significant downside in that it effectively counters the borrower and you won't actually get the creature.
Mm-hmm.
But it does get rid of the treasure if that's something that can't be on the battlefield from Shintaro's perspective.
Interesting here with the iteration. No lands here. It's always iteration is so powerful, but there are those times where you iterate and you're like, okay, I'm obviously going to find a land and then 2 other cards and you don't find a land. You're like, oh no.
Okay.
Shintaro
Little
is
prayer to the
amazing.
magic gods
I
there.
am having so much fun watching Shintaro.
He is awesome. Mystical Dispute's going to go bye-bye forever here. Land, please. And there's a land. He jumps up in his seat.
Okay.
Because now he can start just casting Rogue Refiners and actually get through his library. That was a huge draw step there for Shintaro. Hitting that untapped green or blue source was really good for him. Now he gets to play a game and he looks excited about it.
Oh, I boo this.
Yeah, he's a little less excited about this part.
Anybody can Mystics Mastery a Magma Opus.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that.
And probably anybody should be. Based on from Jakub, this is still very, very strong. Yes, it doesn't have that runaway with the game sequence that we saw in the prior version of the deck when Time Warp was legal, but still, I can't tell you how many matches we covered said where this was what won the game. It didn't have anything to do with Telemachus. It's never even hit the battlefield. It was just getting a super early Magma Opus down.
Yeah, and it was incredibly powerful, as we saw there. Now, we still have some matches to be played here. Both players with a decent number of cards in hand. Shintaro does have Harness Lightning to be able to take care of this 4/4. It actually has multiple copies of that. So, we'll play on here. It was a good Magma Opus, but it's not game over.
Curious to see if he wants to try to get the inspiration going.
Yeah, it might be a good time for Expressive Iteration.
Iteration, thank you.
That's all right. Or do you want to go to Rogue Refiner? Or do you want to go to Harness Lightning? We're weighing all the options. Yeah, let's just clean this up now.
No, he recognizes that this is a problem. Like, that thing's going to take huge chunks of his life total for the foreseeable future. And if he's going to do that, then Iteration's not as tempting because he's already played his land. So he's going to pass the turn back. And that's just land go, though, from Jakub. So easy game here for Ishimura.
Thus far. Is this one worth countering? It's annoying.
The Rouge Refiner.
Ooh, we found a Marvel. Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he still has 4 energy left over even after having cast Harness Lightning.
Played Puzzle Knot, now we're up to 7 energy.
That's plenty enough.
Yep.
Back up to 19 as well. All right, there's some business coming in here. Here comes Shark Typhoon, probably anticipated here by Shintaro. Ooh, and commence the end game, and there's a Coma. Coma, not really what you want to see off the top of the library in this particular deck, but he's got a Brainstorm.
Yep, and is only missing 1 green source, right? 6 mana, so just needs to peel off a green source to be able to get there.
Is it that time? You see the Mystical Dispute looming in hand here for Jakub, but of course Shintaro doesn't know about it.
Yeah. Jakub's hand against the card Aetherworks Marvel is pretty strong, right? Prismari Command, Mystical Dispute. There's Brainstorm there too. Looks like this is the easy part. Let's just attack first. Let's get this out of the way. If my opponent responds, I can respond in kind as well. Now, do we want to do Iteration post-combat?
It's certainly tempting. Also, the possibility that Harness Lightning killing a shark is on the docket here.
Yeah.
But I got to say, if I'm in Jakub's seat, I'm kind of like, do whatever you want, right? If you go for the Marvel, I'll counter it, right? If you do this type of stuff, have a blast, knock yourself out, because he's got to commence the end game as his backup. If he isn't forced to interact this turn, then he can just commence, and that's going to be pretty bad for Shintaro. He's going to be facing down some serious power and toughness here.
All right, so we found a Castle Garenbrig, and now we're just going to run out of Marvel because we have a backup Marvel. So you got to counter this one. That's the first thing.
Right. So Shintaro's going to force the issue here and make Jakub show him something.
Okay.
In this case, it's going to be a Mystical Dispute.
Now here's P command. Okay, so this is going to, because the ability to cast Dispute and Prismari command in the same turn, you can kill that, make a treasure. That's your second source of green mana for your first Coma. So that ends up being pretty nice. And if you peeled it anyway, so green's not even an issue now.
Wow. Yeah, this deck here in Jakub's hand just does not stop. I mean, this is a lot of pressure.
Now here is Coma.
Because why would you play a counterable threat?
Okay, so this is dope, right? Because trigger on, you can borrow this.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so this turn you can go trigger on. Actually, screw borrowing it. I can just lightning it if I want. Oh, why don't we just let it go?
Wow.
Okay, so now we go. Brainstorm.
Now he can spin the wheel.
Well, so now he goes brainstorm.
Oh, he's gonna hit for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna hit for sure. So Ulamog is definitely gonna be on the battlefield now.
Awesome. That's the answer that he needed. He can leave him with just a serpent.
Yeah, this is nice.
Wow, the tap out here from Jakub, super punishing. There's Aetherworks Marvel number 2 going on the stack, and he can spin it straight away when he knows that there's an Ulamog on the top of his library here.
Let's clean it up on aisle 3.
Wow. Incredible.
Yes, the reaction is awesome.
Look at him, he's dancing over there.
We are doing it.
Incredible stuff from Shintaro Ishimura. Finds a way to sneak an Ulamog onto the battlefield of all things and devastates the board of Jakub Toth. That is terrible news for him.
Well, Brainstorm has saved many before. Okay, so now there's another Coma.
None of these are good enough, though.
No, Brainstorm. Coma being hardcast right now is not good enough, right? There's 3 copies. There's actually 3 copies of Harness Lightning in hand. Really?
Yes. Now the question is, right? So he can. This gets actually okay. So it's actually probably the Brazen Borrower that matters the most, right? Because if a Coma were to stick on the battlefield, it is good enough. It can tap down the Ulamog once per turn while smashing, and that play pattern does not favor Shintaro. But if he can get that Coma out of the way for even a second and get some hits in 1 or 2, depending on how many, it looks like 38 cards left for Jakub. So
there's like no cards.
Yeah, yep. a couple of attacks, and then that'll be it.
Yeah. And so what? Keep going. I'm
Ripple
sorry.
Harness Lightning.
Yeah. So what I guess I envision happening right now is if Coma enters the battlefield, right, untap, trigger on the staff, you can just borrow it, or you can just Harness Lightning it, right? Well, I guess let's see. Because there's already a serpent on the battlefield, Harness Lightning's not going to get the job done, really.
Not one Harness Lightning. And then the problem is that, well, it's interesting because, you make the person decide ahead. All right, so here comes Indomitable Creativity to stop the spinning of the wheel, but the damage is already done. There's Coma.
That's pretty cute, actually. Shifty C's here.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Shifty C. We actually get to see this happen now.
Wow, we are doing all of it. This is the first time it's actually hit the battlefield. This is just incredible. And I think we're going to need to see the Brazen Borrower here, right?
Okay, so let's see. Coma trigger on.
I guess you can just go for double Harness Lightning. So you do one, you force him to sacrifice the serpent, then you respond with another, right?
Okay, yeah. So let's see. Okay, so this is great sequencing. So you go sacrifice the Puzzle Knot with the Harness Lightning on the stack, right? So now you have 5 energy, and then you have to respond to Harness Lightning now.
Yep.
Right? And so now you respond by sacking the serpent, and then he's going to respond with another Harness Lightning.
Beautiful play here from Shintaro. Incredible stuff. And that also means that the serpent that's left over, A, can't block Shifty, and B, doesn't really do enough against Ulamog here.
This was all worth it.
So incredible. What a match here for Shintaro Ishimura. He is on the verge of victory. He gets one hit in with the Ulamog, but the truth is, if he gets to turn that thing sideways, regardless of blocks or life total, he's going to pick up the match here.
Just all worth it. Best job
kind of half smiling,
Man, that was great. It's going to take a lot more than commence the end game. That's for sure.
The only good news about Commence the Endgame is that the army token is black. So if he finds a way to do something with Ulamog for the turn, he will not die. He's looking.
Any outs in there?
Because Magma Opus would have been nice to hold back Ulamog, but he's not going to be able to cast both here.
And we are in the end game, and Shintaro is Thanos right now.
It's also brutal because
he
he played that land. So yeah, there's a Magma Opus, but it's way too late. Again,
too late.
hungry hippos over there. Ulamog turning sideways enough to exile the rest of Jakub Toth's entire library. Life totals don't matter, and Shintaro Ishimura picks up the victory. What an incredible win for him.
Now that was rad.
Jakub is looking back over this game like, how did that happen?
That was rad. That was, look, we've covered a lot of matches with a lot of stakes, and it's not like this match was irrelevant, but as far as cards, gameplay, interactions, that's the best match of the weekend for me by far. That was awesome.
We even got to see the awesome sideboard jockey in there from Shintaro, like throwing him a few different looks, and it actually worked. He brought back in the Aetherworks Marvel there for the third game, and that's what ended up winning him the game. Wow. Beautifully set up.
We went like normal, strange, weird beatdowns with Robber the Rich in game 2 to back to marveling, brainstorming Ulamog back on top. Even though I have one less copy of Ulamog in my deck after sideboard down to 2 copies, I have the one in my hand. Remember the opening hand he kept?
Oh, yeah.
2 lands, Ulamog cards, hoping to draw the third land, drawing the third land, and then everything worked out from there. That was awesome.
Awesome stuff. And he also, not only in sideboard did he change his game plans, he also changed his game plan there during the course of the game. It's, of course, a really important skill for a high-level Magic player is to recognize when the plan that you're on is no longer going to work and you need to giddy up U-turn, which is exactly what he did. He went from Rogue Refiner beatdown to Ulamog. Right? I mean, he went to a completely different place to get the job done there. So really incredible stuff there from Shintaro. Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll have more here from the league weekend. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, you got this. Yes, yes. These are spider legs, yeah? You're just doing the same thing. Vary it up. Okay, come on. Did you even read your clue correctly?
And time. The clue was Ranger.
How is this a ranger?
It's our turn.
All right.
We're gonna show you how it's done.
Let's take
Let's take this. All right, ready here? Ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Barbarian.
Yep.
Bard.
Yep.
Okay.
Cleric.
Wizard.
Druid.
Yep.
Druid, yeah, obviously. Wizard.
Fighter.
Close.
Monk. Paladin.
The guy with the
Rogue.
rogue. Oh, wizard. Magic.
Sorcerer. Warlock.
Pointy hat person. Wizard. I meant wizard.
Pointy head person.
I got excited.
Pointy head person.
And welcome back to coverage here of League Weekend. Marshall Sutcliffe with Cedric Phillips. Catching our breath here after that exciting one from Shintaro Ishimura. We got a little more magic to bring you here as well, though, as we round down the last round of action here. Before we see if there's any tiebreakers, if there's any relevant people tied up for a spot, then we're going to play some tiebreaker magic as well. So we'll catch that after the rounds are over here. William Huey Jensen facing off against Jean-Emmanuel Depras. Kind of cool. Said we haven't seen mono black aggro yet, but that's what Jean-Emmanuel brought to the tournament this time.
Yeah, a couple copies here in the MPL side of things. As you mentioned, we haven't really seen it at all this weekend being played. We've seen plenty of Temur control. You see this list here by William Huey Jensen, the Magic Hall of Famer, former world champion, and many other accolades that we could spend a long time talking about for Jensen. But this Temur control deck is one that has been somewhat popular. However, this is the star of the show right now, Marshall. Discard and beatdowns.
Love it. Keep it real simple here, right? Get you off balance with Thoughtseize, Inquisition, etc. But here's the key. I'm also applying pressure to you, right?
Yes.
We have seen that Thoughtseize and Inquisition style strategies still have a place even in the world of Brainstorm. They're definitely worse, than they used to be, but you can still play them. But there's even more emphasis now on backing it up, right? If you're just like, oh, take away your early threat, thank God I got that, and then you fast forward 6 turns and you haven't done anything, you're not really that far ahead. It's still just a 1-for-1. You had to spend the mana. But if you can take away their answer and hit them for 4 or 5, that's a different story.
Inquisition of Kozilek, a card I'm going to point out here really quickly, just because, we see all these cards come back into Historic over time. Brainstorm, Memory Lapse, Faithless Looting, yada, yada, yada. Inquisition of Kozilek is a modern staple and an incredibly powerful card. We see it across many different formats, but it's not one that showed up a ton here in Historic just yet. This is probably the best deck for it, but we just haven't seen it a ton, at least not yet. I assume at some point in its lifespan in Historic we'll see it more, but it hasn't been the standout 1-mana spell that's returned like we've seen with Brainstorm and Faithless Looting.
Agreed. A little weird.
It is a little weird.
I guess this format skews slightly more expensive than Modern does.
I think so. Oh, little one-lander. Okay. Are we feeling lucky, Jean-Emmanuel?
He's got Gutter Bones. What else do you need?
I don't know. A second land?
Yeah, it's a little tough with Rankle and Spawn of Mayhem. The triple 1-drop's nice, but yeah, I don't know. I would ask you, Sid, on it. I mean, I watched your stream last night when you were playing that hammer deck. Everything's 1-drops. You have no wiggle room whatsoever. So what would you do here?
Send it.
I keep everything.
I know. And you know what? I think
I'm that guy.
I probably send it too much, but I'd send it.
Yeah,
because
it's also limited. I'm also used to limited though. So I'm like, hey, I built a solid deck here. I'm keeping it. It'll bail me out.
I'm sending it right back. Okay, well, you see, this is why I'm here and they're there, because I know land. Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's not even. I mean, to be fair, that's not even like it doesn't even cast any spells.
It's true.
You cast any spells.
It starts to work your way up towards the Rankle, but oof, Jean-Emmanuel's going to be happy. Knight of the Ebon Legion was not his opening play there, as it would have nabbed the other one as well. But instead, it's just going to be 1 card gone there as Jensen takes care of business.
Martin uses this in the chat, and he said, snap it off to this hand, and he mulls everything. Now, Martin, like we both mulligan pretty aggressively, I think, and he would have kept this. That's a reckless keep, Martin. Reckless keep.
Martin's with me on this one.
You have 4 colorless lands in your deck.
Pretty funny.
Don't be afraid to send it back. It's already a 6-card hand with Rankle, in my opinion. But you know what? You know what's gonna happen. Right? We've done this long enough. You know what the next draw step is.
Swamp.
We all know what the next draw step is. It's a black source.
It's a snow-covered swamp.
And now Huey's going to have full information too. He knows his hand. So this will allow him some tilt equity. Just be like, I can't believe it. Oh, wow, I'm wrong. What is
Go
that?
blank off the top. That's not a black mana source. What's going on here?
I don't know what's happening right now. It must be faulty programming.
Go blank looks pretty good here, though. Are we going to see a little extinction event to just wipe the board? Looks like it. Jensen says, you take a 2-for-1 when you can get it. His life total is still at 14. And there it is, the
There it
castle
is.
locked away.
Not always there when you call, but always on time.
This gets interesting now. Go blank is going to make it so that the search for Ascanta is not going to flip for a very long time. And Jensen's now hellbent. He has no cards in hand whatsoever. He doesn't want a Thoughtseize, so he's going to take a Shark Typhoon.
All right.
That'll work.
There it is.
And there's land number 4 as well for Jean Emmanuel. That's going to open up all of the options for him.
Well, as is oftentimes the case, never mulligan. As I've learned once again, just never send it back. We're gonna go to the Spawn. I think you can make an argument for either one of these 4 drops. Like Spawn and Rankle are both pretty darn good right now. I think you want to use your mana for one of these things. All right.
Spawn of Mayhem's going to be the play here for Jean Emmanuel.
Cycle of Typhoon, perhaps? A little 2/2 flyer? Cerulean Drake, huh?
What are you doing here, Cerulean Drake?
I guess. Oh man, I am real confused. I guess sometimes. Okay, so I guess the thought process is sometimes you need a flying blocker.
Yeah.
Maybe that. Okay, he brought in 1 Cerulean Drake. Okay. So Huey boarded out, commenced the end game, 2 Doomblades, which are textless basically, and then 3 Mystical Disputes for 3 Legion's End, Gaia Eternal Kefnet, Baleful Mastery, and Cerulean Drake. So that's very much I got nothing else. So sure, it could trade with a 1 toughness creature. It could, I don't know, block Spawn of Mayhem or Rankle for a turn or something. Sure, I guess.
Right, it outperforms Mystical Dispute. So here it is.
All right, fair enough. Learn something new every day. All right, little Rankle.
Yeah, so Spawn into Rankle into Knight of the Ebon Legion.
Kind of sweet.
And he's going to jam here. So there's another 2/2 Shark available to Jensen here. So he has a double block on Rankle, if he'd like. But his life total's definitely falling. Of course, a counter's going to go on the Knight of the Ebon Legion on end step here as well.
That's why the Drake's in the deck. Put it in the graveyard with the search for Ascanta. That's why.
Yeah.
I got it. That's just one of the 7 cards you need to transform it.
There you go. He's trying to rebuild after that Go Blank wiped out his entire graveyard.
That Go Blink was nice.
It was pretty good. Okay, so Narset finds Fatal Push. There's also Baleful Mastery at the ready here for Jensen, but Fatal Push is a nice answer to the Knight. This is getting a little uncomfortable, though, for Jensen. He's still facing down the 4/4 flying, trampling Spawn of Mayhem and doesn't currently have a great answer for it.
Don't forget about that Faceless Haven that's hanging out there, Castle Lockmane activations, Knight of the Ebon Legion activations. One of the nice things about Mono Black is that you have no shortage of things to do with your mana. You don't ever really run out of gas. You just get overpowered sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. That Faceless Haven's very threatening here as well. It actually lets him attack, for what would be a lethal attack.
Yeah, let's go.
Get in for 10 with Huey at 8, so it forces him to make a block he might not be thrilled with. John Emmanuel is aware of the Fatal Push in hand.
Baleful Mastery is pretty sick right now. You get to pay for the alternate casting cost, and then Jean Emmanuel doesn't get to draw a card because of Narset. Thanks.
Gross.
Yeah, it's
Gross.
I'm just going to get on the bandwagon right now. Narset more powerful than Teferi. Don't at me.
Whoa.
As far as 3 mana planeswalkers go from War of the Spark, Narset's better than Teferi. Do not at me in the chat.
All right. You said it.
Huey wants to do here. Got to imagine Mastery's in the equation.
Very tough decision here for Jensen. He has one block available, which could either soak up 4 damage or give you another look with your Narset. And then he has one removal spell that he can cast on either of the other creatures. So it looks like he's going to get rid of the Spawn of Mayhem here with the Baleful Mastery, soak up 4 damage with the Shark, and let Narset fall down to 1.
All right. Gem Bones, good follow-up.
Yeah, nice follow-up there.
Extinction Event would be nice.
That one goes into the graveyard, and instead it's going to be a Watery Grave, and no ability here to use Narset.
So now if you're Jensen, you can activate Search for Azcanta, right? You're going to want to leave some black mana available if you do that. Got to decide if you're going to play this Watery Grave tapped or untapped. But I think you get to make that decision. I think you get to make the decision with the Watery Grave after activating the Search as opposed to before.
Yeah, he has the Fatal Push that he'd like to be able to use. And yeah, you know, if he finds another cheap removal spell, it might be worth it to play the Watery Grave untapped.
I guess the other thing that Jensen's probably thinking about right now too is, do I actually want to activate this Search for Azcanta on my own turn, right? Because there's a potential I'd rather my opponent not know what card I find off of it, and then they activate their Faceless Haven and it gets blown up, right?
Mm.
So there's a little bit of, do I do it now? Do I do it later? Do I play the Watery Grave tapped, untapped, whatever? So we see the decision he came to.
Face up Fatal Push. John Emanuel's turn, if he'd like, is pretty good. He has Gutter Bones and he can activate Castle Lochthwain. He could fire up the Faceless Haven and have it die to make sure that other damage gets in, and then he can still cast Gutter Bones and get a counter on his Knight.
Yeah, it's
feels not great to do, but maybe it's just correct, because if you don't, then Fatal Push can hit, say, the Knight of the Ebon Legion instead. And now you're only getting in for 2 points.
In a way, you almost have to light this Faceless Haven on fire, right? To force the hand of you have to force the hand of the Fatal Push in some respects, because if you don't, you're not dealing enough. It doesn't feel like.
Right, you're dealing 2,
and you got to shorten the game around Search for Azcanta, because that's the most powerful thing going on now. Because that'll just run away with the game all by itself. So yeah, this is the old, I got to do this even though I don't want to do this, and I know you have a Fatal Push, just because I have to shorten the game as best I can. And you casting Fatal Push here, maybe my other 2 Knuckleheads get through, I bring you down to 4, I play a Gutter Bones, now I have 6 power on the battlefield, and your Search for Azcanta activations have to go perfect.
Yeah, you'll even have 7. He'll make the Knight of the Ebon Legion lethal on its own as well. So, yeah, this is a lot of pressure. And as you mentioned, it doesn't feel good to throw Faceless Haven into a Fatal Push here, but that does unlock a lot of extra damage for you. I assume that the Narset is just ignorable at this point. It doesn't represent another card for Jensen. And this and the black deck, you can activate the Castle Lochthwain on your opponent's turn if you want. Yeah, he's just going to bypass Narset and attack with both.
Okay, so now I assume that you search now. One weird reason that I wouldn't search now, and Jensen knows the content of his deck much better than I do, is if you give him to play a 1-drop, like if you activate there and if you activate in combat and you hit Extinction Event, he's not going to play Gutter Bones.
Right. Good point. Right?
So now you say, go ahead and play your other thing. And now if I hit Extinction Event, I get it all, and I probably win extremely easily. So going down to 4 there looks a little bit strange. There's a Cling.
He can,
but I can understand why.
Cycle that right now.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that Jensen's line, given the way that you just broke that down, said it looks like that's what Jensen's line is, meaning that he'd rather get another card into his hand than start gaining life.
He also has to worry about discard, right? He has to think about, like, if they draw a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition or something like that. Like, if I hit Legion's End and that gets Inquisition, it's super annoying. So, you just kind of let it go this way. And now Huey has to think about if it's Search for Azcanta or is it Brainstorm. There's a lot these players have to think about in such a compressed game. Huey trying to stay alive, and Jean-Emmanuel, oh, that's a whiff. Jean-Emmanuel trying so hard to kill him.
double Narset. He can
Okay,
play
so-
one.
He has enough mana to play Narset, has an untapped land, 2 cards on top he already knows, so the 2 underneath that are the mystery. If he finds Extinction Event, he can still cast it. He found
Oh,
Legions.
he found Legion's End, but unfortunately that Knight is lethal on its own.
Yep.
So even if he takes out both Gutter Bones, he will die to the remaining creature, and if he takes out the Knight itself, then the Gutter Bones kill him. Wow, that was close.
Brutal.
But it's not quite there. And look at John Emanuel. He's like, I got my Knight of the Evan Legion.
Yeah. And
He's smiling down there.
If you're Jean Emmanuel, I mean, Jensen's not going to play his land. And now you actually just, you're clear to check it out, right? Like, I don't think there's a world in which he doesn't activate Knight of the Evan Legion because I don't want to play any more turns.
Yeah,
You know,
look
like,
at this. He's playing with us now. He's like, is there... Because if he goes for the Thoughtseize, it lets him know, but it just lets him know because Huey would cast it. So I don't know that there's any great point to doing so, right? It doesn't change anything.
Well, let's see. I guess the only thing you have to, if you're Jean Emmanuel, the thing you're thinking about is, do I Thoughtseize first? If I Thoughtseize first and you kill my thing, then I can't activate Castle Lockmane.
Right.
Right? But now I know the coast is clear, so now I'm dead.
And Jensen just gives him the good game because he sees it's just a basic island with enough mana left over to pump up the Knight and send in. It's going to be Jean-Emmanuel Duprat picking up the win there and defeating one of the toughest customers out there, William Huey Jensen. Great job, Jean.